Hello, teachers of emergent bilinguals. Welcome to my blog, Linguistics for Teachers at able.com. Today, I want to talk to you about a scope and sequence of linguistic skills for English as a new language standalone instruction. So in the last couple of weeks that I've been blogging about this, I have created so far a plan for you to identify, number one, themes and subtopics that might be of interest to your students. The reason that we're picking themes is because we can't teach language or these linguistic skills in a vacuum. Our students need world knowledge so that they can eventually access text in their content areas. So it's very important that we always couch our linguistic skills in a theme and a topic. I also asked you to look at standards and set content objectives. So for example, if my theme is going to be my school, my community, and the subtopic is my school building, one of my content objectives is going to be how to identify places in my school building. I have given you a planner to help you with this, and we want to choose themes that are based on the New York State K through 8 scope and sequences for science, social studies, as well as the K through 2 language arts. And this is really going to give our students in standalone a nice variety of topics to familiarize themselves with their new school environment. So I want to talk to you first about what linguistic skills are. What do I mean when I refer to linguistic skills? Okay, if we look at this pie chart, we can see that we have 5 components, okay? And what I'm doing here is I'm showing you the components of oral language because when we acquire a new language, we acquire it orally first before we acquire the written language. And so when I talk to you about linguistic skills, I'm talking to you about phonology, which are the sounds, the syllables, and the stress of the language. I'm talking to you about pragmatics and world knowledge, which is content knowledge and language in use, how to use language appropriately in different contexts. Talking to you about content vocabulary. We also call this the lexicon. I'm also talking to you about sentence structure, okay, our syntactic knowledge. And finally, knowledge of morphology or word parts. And so what I'd like you to understand is that our emergent bilinguals, when they come to your classroom, they already have all of this in their home language. But now we really need to develop this in their new language, orally in English, before we ask them to do reading and writing. Okay, so we're going to be developing oral language all year long. I'm going to help you develop their oral language in all of these areas. I want to talk to you about written skills. Okay, so the important thing to remember here is that oral language and written language are 2 different things. Okay, very different things. In terms of written language skills, which also comprise linguistic skills, we're talking about phonemic awareness. Okay, that is sound to symbol correspondence so that we can read, also known as decoding, and spell. So just to give you an example, I know the sound k as in cat. Now I'm going to learn the letter that represents the k sound. Okay, I'm going to learn that C. I am gearing this year of standalone toward older learners. So in all of the sample lessons that I create for you, because I will be creating sample lessons for you, I'm not going to create lessons like that cat sat on the mat. Those are not the kinds of phonics lessons that I want you to teach because our students are older and we need to respect that. But they do need to learn how to decode. Part of written language skills also comprises morphological awareness. Okay, so this is sound to word part correspondence for reading and spelling. So if I have a word like writing, I want my learners to recognize the ing ending as ing, and I want them to be able to recognize it in text and also spell it independently. Linguistic skills, I'm also talking about handwriting and writing conventions. And so you might ask yourself, well, how am I supposed to teach my adolescent students handwriting? That's something they're supposed to have learned way back when in kindergarten. Well, the reason that I want to do handwriting with my adolescent students is because it is reinforcing phonemic awareness and spelling and making things more automatic. Also, you really do see how students take pride in writing well and writing neatly. And it's something that we want to continue to reinforce. And I have all kinds of fun ideas to do handwriting with adolescent students that I'm going to help you with this year. Writing conventions, things like capitalization, punctuation, how to use commas, all of those things are necessary to help our students read and write. Our students also need to practice grammar and written expression. So sentence structure, how to take two independent sentences and put them together using a conjunction, for example, and paragraph and essay structure. So all of these are skills, linguistic skills, oral and written, that our students need to develop in a sequence over the year. So when I talk about scope, I'm talking about all the different skills that I just described to you. And when I talk about sequence, I'm talking about introducing these skills step by step, week by week, in a sequence that makes sense for language acquisition. Okay, and that's what I'm here to help you with. When we think about our scope and sequence, we're thinking about starting with oral language, going into emergent literacy, okay, that's the phonemic awareness and the other skills that I just described. And as we merge oral language and emergent literacy, we want to have our students become faster in the speed with which they can do everything and more accurate. And when we have speed and accuracy in language acquisition, that equals fluency, right? And that's what we want for our students. We want them to have fluency in English as well as their home language, reading-wise and writing-wise, so that they can access academic information at school and succeed. Okay, so there are three parts to my scope and sequence. The first part is phonological and phonemic awareness, as well as handwriting. The second part is vocabulary and morphological awareness. And then finally, grammar and written expression. These are not all of the skills. This is just an example of what's in my scope and sequence. For the full list of skills, go to my blog, able.com, and look at the post. I have put the link below in the description of the video. So for example, for phonological awareness, I want my students to echo and chorally repeat words, phrases, and short sentences. This is very important to get them started, just getting used to the sounds and the rhythm of English. I want them to connect the meanings of new vocabulary that you're teaching them in English with their home language. Okay, again, phonological awareness. They're going to say a word in English, then they're going to think about the translation equivalent and just practice saying the words to get a feel for how English is different. I want them to understand the concept of a consonant, which is an interrupted sound, versus a vowel, which is an uninterrupted sound, as well as what a syllable is, and begin to recognize the sounds and number of syllables in words, okay? So that's just a preview of the kinds of skills that I want you to do with your students. In terms of vocabulary and morphological awareness, I want students to gain awareness of cognates, especially if they're Spanish or French speakers, and if their language is not very closely related to English, where there aren't a lot of cognates, I want them to gain more and more awareness of home language translation equivalents. When we're dealing with adolescent students, they are fully fledged speakers of their home language. They have tons of vocabulary in their home language. We don't want to start from scratch. We want them to access their vocabulary knowledge in the home language so that they can use it as a bridge to learning English. In terms of grammar and written expression, I want them to start off pointing to things and being able to say this is or these are. Learn subject, object, and possessive pronouns, as well as describe actions in the present progressive. Okay, as I said, I have a list of skills for you that I want you to teach the first 6 weeks of school. And I'm going to post week by week to take you through each week's skill, okay? But I'm trying to give you now just an overview of the types of skills that I'm going to ask you to teach your students. And I just want to give you a preview of what this looks like within a lesson. So this is the sample lesson that I've created for you. This is my school. And in this lesson, we have helped students get familiar with their school building and all the places in their school building and people in their school building. Okay, and I have a whole bunch of activities that I have done designed for them in this lesson. But in terms of foundational literacy, which is what I'm talking to you about today, we're going to start off by familiarizing our students with alphabetic order. We want to strengthen their alphabetic knowledge. Now, some might do this very easily, in which case I want you to give them more words, okay? Some really might struggle with this, in which case I want you to give them less words. But if we're going to just do a generic slide for everybody, you can see that I have the different vocabulary words that I taught them throughout the course of this lesson. And now I want them to put these vocabulary words in order, okay? So obviously they're going to start with basketball, right? And then classroom. And I want them to become very, very strong at alphabetizing words, okay? Because we know that alphabetic knowledge, including the sequence of alphabet letters, is a major predictor of fluent reading. Okay, so that's where we're going to stop this week. Stay tuned next week. I'm going to be talking about which assessments to give your students during that first week of school, just so that you can get an idea of where they're at. And then we're going to start launching in the week by week, okay? So any questions, please leave them down for me below. I'm going to give you the link to the blog post. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel. I will be posting as often as I can to help you through the school year, teach our emergent bilinguals language and literacy. See you next time. Thank you.